Lucky to Be Here is a podcast that showcases the lives and experiences of those who took the leap and navigated big life and career transitions across countries. They share their stories, their lessons, and advice to show us what is possible and what it takes to define and live their idea of success across borders. Because we all need that extra nudge to make our next bold move and build our paths one day at a time. We're more than just lucky to be here. I am Dr. Analía Gómez Vidal, and I know a thing or two about big leaps and career pivots across countries. I am the founder of AGV Services LLC, a career development business that empowers bold career explorers, creating their paths across industries and countries without self doubt or overwhelm. To learn more about the work that I do and how we can support you through coaching and community, visit agvservicesllc.com. Welcome to Lucky to Be Here. I am really glad you are. We're here. We made it to the end of 2025. And I know that it is not needed for me to do any type of recap of what a whirlwind of a year this has been. Before you continue listening to this episode, make sure that you download the year in review prompts I prepared for it in the link in the show notes. It will come in handy for you to take the more practical steps that I discuss later in this episode. Now, if you're like me, you started with an idea of what this year was going to be like, and today things may or may not seem exactly as you were expecting or hoping for. I know that for me, the first year of entrepreneurship has been very humbling, and I could have not predicted in any way where I am now. But I sit here to record this podcast episode, and I feel grateful that this goal was accomplished. There is one thing that has helped me grow throughout this year, and that has been fundamental for myself and for a lot of people that I have worked with. It is working on separating what is a strategy from what is planning and what are habits, and figuring out what works best for us at each step. This is especially true when the context is an unpredictable one and things keep changing in ways that we cannot fully foresee. This differentiation can help us ground ourselves in what we can control. Today, I want to revisit these ideas and offer a very brief set of questions and ideas for you to reflect on what this year has brought for you and start thinking about the year ahead so that you feel more reassured and prepared for whatever comes your way. Some of these are iterations or adaptations of things that I myself have used at some point or another, and that you can take with you and repurpose as you feel helpful. As a reminder, you can download the brief workbook with all of these questions, prompts, and ideas in the link in the show notes. Now, first off, those of you who have been part of my newsletter earlier this year have come across the distinction that I make between strategies and routines. If you want to learn more about it and read through that, you can find the link to my newsletter in the show notes and review my newsletters from August 2025 in the series that I called Strategies for Us. In that series, I share what I thought of a strategy in the context of habits and routines. Strategy is like the umbrella or group of habits and routines that we establish to achieve a goal. For example, my overall goal is to build a sustainable and profitable business, and my strategy during the first year has been to identify the intersection between what my communities need most, how I can serve best, and what systems and processes need to be in place to provide that service. In our discussion earlier this year, habits and routines supported our strategies as a group of actionable steps that we took to reach that strategy. For example, a habit of mine is to read a series of newsletters from sources and colleagues that I trust to further educate myself on what is going on in the industries that I serve. Another routine is to use the multi-year planner every week to set my goals for the week and review my progress when looking at the bigger picture. And as a reminder, you can access that very same multi-year planner template using the link in the show notes or visiting our website. Now, there is a key word that is missing in this discussion and has already been present. It is planning. Planning is setting a set of steps that you are going to follow through to reach a certain goal. Habits and routines, when they work, make planning easier because they are part of that set of steps, often incorporated in a way that reduces the need for decisions and systematizes progress. You can have a plan without a strategy, and you may have a strategy without a clear plan. Even more so, you can have habits and routines without a strategy or plan. The biggest difference between strategy and planning, however, is that you have control over a plan to a certain extent, but you do not have control over a strategy because uncertainty is always part of the process. You can set the goal and how you want to reach it, but there is only so much that you can foresee from where you're standing. You might be wondering why I find all of this important to mention in this episode. The reason is pretty straightforward. In a year like 2025, the more we hold on to planning and controlling, the more difficult it is for us to adapt while holding on to our goals. Uncertainty has been a key word of the year, and we can expect 2026 to continue that trend in some way or another. Today, as I invite us to think about our year ahead, I want to also remind us that whatever happens, you showing up is the win. Even if things do not go as planned, we still get to work towards what we want and care about most. Plans, strategies, and even goals might change, but there is room for us to rework and pivot, and that is what we will aim for. No matter what happens, always lead with grace towards yourself and others. We're all trying to figure this out as we go. Now, let's take a look at 2025 using the year in review prompts. I offer you 3 questions for you to reflect about your year before we start envisioning 2026. In the workbook you downloaded, you will find a table with a row for each month of this year. For each month, identify what stood out to you, whether it was the highlights or the hardships. What lessons have they left for you and that you want to integrate moving forward? There is also an extra question for you to take the next step once you identify those lessons. So if you have your workbook, then you can dive deeper into that. From everything that you have gone through this year, take some time to answer the next 3 questions. What have you done in 2025 that you want to continue building on in 2026? What experiences do you want more of next year? And what do you want less of in 2026? The answer to these questions can help you identify what to bring with you into the strategy for the year ahead, what you want to make room for, and what you want to phase out, trim down, or get rid of altogether in 2026. You may or may not be able to act on these insights right away, but your awareness will guide your attention so you make it happen over time. Next, it's time to talk about goals. Now, there are multiple ways of setting your goals for the next year, but here I share with you 2 creative ways that I have implemented myself at different points in time. Before we discuss those, there are 3 questions to answer. First, are you pursuing a multi year goal? If so, the second question then is what steps towards that goal do you want to tackle in the next year? If, like me, you have a multi year goal that you're working towards, setting your goals for the year might be more about defining the milestones or intermediate goals that you want to achieve to get you closer to the bigger goal, whether that is defending your dissertation, moving abroad, etc. For me, my 2025 goal was to launch my business. And then I had a lot of smaller goals that tied in some way or another to that one. But also as that set the strategy on how I would build the business. On the flip side, you might have a set of goals that are shorter term, like making a specific trip happen or completing a training. That's where the third question comes in. Are you working towards a short term goal or set of goals? And if so, list them on that page. Now, the 2 creative ways of connecting with your goals, whether you're clear on them or not entirely. One way of identifying your goals and finding inspiration for your strategies is through vision boarding. Over the years, I have followed some of my friends' lead on putting together collages of things that I want for myself in the year ahead as part of friends' gatherings. So that was a creative and playful way of connecting with my goals and painting a picture of what the vision for my life at a certain point can look like. You can do this by yourself as part of a group gathering or through a facilitated workshop. If you're interested in this type of activity and also getting to know other people in that process, I suggest checking out fellow podcaster Lauren Roche from The Naked Truth with Lauren, who hosts vision boarding workshops in the Washington, D.C. area and also online. Another playful way of identifying and prioritizing your goals is one that I used last year. And in fact, it's a very nudge that I followed to create this podcast. This is how I went about it, following a few suggestions from TikTok videos that I came across last year at this time. And now, my apologies to the original sources that I was not able to find in my saved videos. Before the solstice, make a brain dump of what you want for yourself in the next year. From that list, pick 12 of these goals if you have more, and if not, write 12 of them. And write them down separately in pieces of paper that you can fold multiple times. Now put them all in a small container. It can be a bowl, a box, or a small bag. Every night until New Year's Eve, take one of them without reading them. Simply follow the same step until New Year's Eve, when you will have one last piece of paper in the container. On New Year's Eve, pull that last piece of paper and read that one. That is one goal for you to start focusing on. When I did this last year, my goal, the one that I pulled that day, was to start a podcast. And here we are now. Fun fact, what is interesting about this exercise is that you may find yourself achieving the other goals in that list throughout the year anyway. They might not be your focus or priority, but they are popping up for a reason. And that has been my experience, at least. Now, you have your goal or goals now. And before we move into strategy, one thing that you can define early on is how you want to show up for the year ahead. A practice that I really like doing for this is picking a word or phrase for the year ahead. This serves as a North Star for you through the year on what guides you no matter what comes your way. One way of picking them, which is how I do it, is taking some time apart to meditate either in silence or with deep breaths, or doing something creative like coloring for a while, dancing, or even gardening. In that state of calm, I ask myself how I want to show up for the year ahead. I let the words pop up in my mind. And once I am set on the word or expression, I write it down and I keep it in my office board at home and even in my childhood bedroom board if I'm visiting my family. My phrase for 2025 has been freedom and abundance. And with this year being almost over, I have no doubt that I have deepened my understanding of these words throughout. Now you have your insights for 2025, some playful ways of discovering and connecting with your goals for 2026, and some additional inspiration on how you want to show up for the year ahead. The next step is defining your strategy. And for that, I encourage you to join us in AGV Lab for Career Explorers, where we work together on identifying the right strategy for your goals and support you through the process of implementing it. Members also have discounted access to our group coaching program From Here to Clear, a 2-month program with weekly support to move you from doubt and overwhelm into strategic action for the next step and clarity and confidence for the long run. Our winter 2026 cohort starts in early January, so if you book the call to join with me using the link in the show notes, we can get you started right away. I wish you a restful, recharging, and joyful holiday season, and thank you for being part of Lucky to Be Here. You listening to this podcast means the world to me, and it literally validates my 2025 goals, so thank you so much for that. Next week, our mini episode focuses on the anatomy of bold moves to get us even more inspired as we head into the next year. I will see you then. If you made it to the end of this episode, thank you. Remember that you can use code LUCKY25, LUCKY25, to get 20% off when you subscribe to my coaching membership, AGV Lab for Career Explorers. Learn more about AGV Lab and book your call to join using the link in the show notes. That is all for today. My name is Dr. Analía Gómez Vidal, and I thank you for joining us today on Lucky to Be Here. If you liked this episode, please make sure to rate and review and subscribe wherever you're listening. You can also sign up to our newsletter using the link on our show notes to access the video version of our episodes. To learn more about the work that I do to support bold career explorers across countries through coaching and community, please visit agvservicesllc.com and follow AGV Services LLC on LinkedIn and Instagram. I'll see you next time.